Welcome to Blowing Solutions Wide Open, where we're talking about all things spiritual as well as creating new systems in the area of healthcare, finance, government, education, and new environmental practices. My name is Addie Halkin. Thank you for joining me. If you think that you have ideas or things to share in any of those areas, please feel free to email me at blowingsolutionswideopen@gmail.com, or you can put the word guest in the comment section of this video, and I'd love to talk to you and potentially have you come on here. Or if you're somebody that just doesn't care for doing the podcast thing, but you have information that you want to share, please put it in the comment section. Any way you get it to me, it's great. And if you have ideas or in other areas that have to do with helping humanity or making our planet better, I'd love to hear about it. This channel's wide open, so um, that's that's just what I have today to say today. Also, if you would like to like, share, subscribe, do all those fun things, if you want to see more content or you have an interest in getting the alternative information out to the masses, that'd be great. So today I am very happy to have my guest. Her name is Maura Allard. She's an intuitive realtor and a healer of homes. And Maura, I'm so glad you're here. If you know, go for it. Let us know what you do, who you help, and anything else you want to share. Of
Awesome. Thanks, Addie. I'm really
course.
happy to be here. I'm happy for what you're doing. I feel it's really important to get messages out about different ways of being in this world. Um, I own a business called Wind, Water, and Wisdom, and the tagline is Healer of Homes. And I'm also an intuitive realtor. And I guess I'll start with how I got here because this isn't the path I was on. And I think that's how most people, there are some people I think born with it and nurtured in their home growing up to feel energy, sense energy. But I feel like for most of us, if we stumble upon it, it's kind of awakening, some sort of spiritual awakening. And for me, I guess I was born into a home where the mother that actually owned a pendulum, had a juicer in the 80s and 70s, which is well before her time, and was into cards, but we really didn't talk about it or express it. I knew it was there. I knew she was into alternative ways of healing her own body, but we really didn't talk about it. It wasn't a family shared discussion. So it was just something she did. I would probably have thought very little of it until later in life when it started to kind of awaken in me. And I would say in my late 30s, I started being attracted to tarot cards, oracle cards, looking at life differently. So I started pulling cards, and that was how it all started. I would bought a deck of oracle cards, and I would pull one every single day. And I would say like a year went by, and one day I just knew what card to pull. And I was like, that's new. How do I know that? And my energy was just drawn to like the card. And I'm like, I like magic. And all of a sudden I was aware that I knew what cards to pick. So I was just kept playing with that. And that's about where I left it for years. I would just pull cards, and sometimes friends would ask me to pull cards, but nothing else happened. So, and I was completely fine with that. And it went all the way. And at this time, I am a realtor and not an intuitive realtor. I'm just a regular old realtor selling real estate at that time in the state of Massachusetts. And COVID happened, so 2020. And I had been cruising along like I'm sure all the world had been and loving my life. And then everything shut down. And I really didn't understand how real estate was ever going to come back at that period. So it's like, how we can sell real estate. Lo and behold, we all know what happened. Fast forward, the real estate market blew up. And so in June of 2020, my phone started blowing up with text messages and calls. I need to sell my house. I need to sell my house. I need to buy a house. I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect this. And a lot of it was, and I will say it was predominantly female at the time. Sorry, men, but that's who was reaching out, that were like, I don't like how my house feels. Those were the words I kept hearing. I don't like how my house feels. And I'm like, what do you mean? We just bought it. We closed on it like a year ago. We closed on it 2 years ago. This isn't like you've been in there for 20 years and you've outgrown it. You're just a new owner. And it was this theme of, I don't know, but now that I'm living in it, per se, every day, all day, 24 hours a day, I don't like it. It was fine when I got up in the morning, left at 7, went to work, came home at 6, sat on the couch for a couple hours, and that house worked. But now that I'm living in it, I don't like it. And I began to like think that's interesting, but I really didn't know what that meant. I really was at a loss for, how do you mean you don't like how it feels? And so I would just keep like acknowledging this and putting people in new houses and kept going forward. And nothing really shifted until I had a client in 2021. And we all have had someone in our life, neighbors, clients, people that just get under your skin. And this individual just really irked me. He wasn't kind, he wasn't nice, he was rude, he was mean. And I began to judge, really, really judge him. And it's not a characteristic I like about myself. And so I was walking to, and I couldn't sell the house. I could sell any house in COVID, I couldn't sell this house. And like, of course, this is how the universe was going to give it to me. I was walking down the street and I looked up at the sky and I just said, release the judgment from me. I just want this feeling of judgment of this person to go away. I don't like this feeling. And I walked into this house and I was all alone. I was waiting for another realtor and her clients. The house had been on the market for 60 days, which is a long time during COVID in Massachusetts. And when things were selling in a day, I heard no one was home. Like I can't explain in my head as loud as if someone was screaming next to me, save me, and clean me. Now the house was filthy. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, and I couldn't get away from it. Every room I went in, I just heard save me, clean me, clean me. And all of a sudden I just started cleaning. I like got like cleaning supplies from under the sink and started cleaning everything. And I was texting a friend that was a medium. And I'm like, do houses talk? Like there's something going on. And she's like, yes, talk back. It's a spirit or of the house or energy of the house. And I'm like, okay, not really understanding anything that was going on. I'm cleaning and I'm like talking to the house, which is just booming in my head. And lo and behold, the realtor shows up, the clients come in. I haven't been able to sell the house sells that day, the offer is that day. And I was like, and at that moment, what was pivotal is it shifted I no longer judged him. It was in that moment that I had no judgment for this seller. And my goal was to save the house. The house needed me, not the person. And at that time, everything just opened. Well, it opened as far as it was going to open. All of a sudden, I was like very aware of like going to Target and hearing voices and people talking to me. And I had to learn to shut that down. I'm not a medium, but like it was an opening and it was an awareness of energy. Also, to backpedal, I had always been clearing homes for the most part. If the home was empty or there was no one living there, I would clear the home. Um, and one of the last sales, so I should fast forward. So then I decided to study energy. So I was like, okay, something's going on here. And I decided I started Googling because I don't know what am I going to do? I don't know what to do with like this newfound thing. And I was like, I'm going to just start Googling energy classes. And feng shui came up. And so I started looking at feng shui and different aspects. And a lot of it just didn't really resonate for me. Holistic feng shui did, but when I was looking at the other things, I thought it was really hard for some people. Like I can't, telling people to change their paint colors every year based on a flying star chart, like seems like a lot of work for the average human being who's got kids and all this stuff. I was like, I'm sure it works, but it's not resonating with me as something that I could easily get people to do. So holistic feng shui was much more about the elements, working with the elements, working with nature, working with the energy of a room, using some very tried and true feng shui classical tips, like how you place your desk in the command position in your bed and the stove and a lot of that. But it was much more about a natural element. So I took the certification class, and this is where it got interesting and when I really began to believe in how our homes really shape us. And I like to equate it to like you meet somebody and you look at their dog and their dog really has a personality that resembles them a little. And you're like, huh, that's kind of funny. Well, that's how I feel about homes in some ways. Your home can resemble a part of you. And even if it's a part of you that needs to change or grow or transform, it's usually within your home, that part of you. So I was really busy at this time. Still, real estate is rocking and rolling. I'm actually burning out a lot. I'm really suffering with burnout. I'm not understanding what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, how come I can't get ahead of this? And I'm taking this feng shui class. And I remember the instructor saying that we had to hand draw our floor plan. And I'm like, no, I can just do this with my little measure thing. I can do, and she's like, no, I need you to hand draw it because I read the energy in the drawing. And I'm like, I don't have time to hand draw it. I can just use this app I have. And she's like, nope, you got to draw it. So I drew it. And then during class, she would hold up everybody's drawing. And she said, Maura, is your furniture floating in your room? In your rooms. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, you drew your bed in the middle of the room, you drew your couch in the middle of the room, you drew your tables. And she's like, or are they against walls? And I'm like, no, they're against the bed frame's against the wall, the couch is floating, it's against the wall. And she said, well, do you feel grounded? I'm like, oh, hell no, I don't feel grounded at all. And she goes, good, good, because your furniture's floating and it's showing you're not grounded. And I'm like, oh. And then she said, is there an area of your life that you really wish was different? And I said, I really wish I had some friends, like some true good friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a lot of people I've known a long time, but I don't really feel like I have tried and true friends. And she's like, oh, well, let's look at the chart. And this is your relationship gua, where you would have friends or partners. And it's right in this corner. She goes, what does that room look like? And I'm like, that would be a hot mess. That room is where my son used to have, it was my son's room, but then he went off to college, which became the catch-all room. So much so, like, I love homes and I love decor. This room, like, didn't even have like the light fixture was just a light bulb screwed into the ceiling. It had nothing. And I also was in the part, we knew we were going to sell our house within a year. So I really didn't want to do any work to this house. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do much. And she's like, well, can you clear the clutter? And can you light a candle? Can you go in there every day and light a candle and ask for someone to come into your life that you'll connect with? That I could do. So I set up a little altar and I put some flowers and I lit a candle every day. 2 days later, the phone rings and it's a woman that I used to work with years and years ago. We were thick as thieves. She actually designed my whole wedding and we just lost connection. She had 2 children. I went and did real estate and we just had disconnected, but we were always really alike. And she said, I don't know why, but I woke up and I got this message, like thought I had to call you. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And we spent 2 hours on the phone. And to this day, we are still talking. I talked to her this week. So it was like the energy by that part of my home, I activated it and I attracted a relationship into my life. We would also talk about in the class, like going through if you came into my house at that point in my life, everything would look organized and picked up. I wasn't a clutter around the house kind of person, but as my husband would say, don't you dare open a closet. Don't you look under our beds. Don't you go in the cabinet. I mean, I had so many clothes. And that was all what I would learn in feng shui, emotions we don't want to deal with, emotions we push aside. And as I was going to be moving, so as I started to move and unpack, I really began to realize that we believe things, belongings are our connection to our memories, but our memories are all here. So they're not. And so we live in a consumer society where it's really easy to hit Amazon in our cart. And we get stuff. We might not even like it, but we keep it because it's such a pain in the neck to send it back. Our kids may go off to school. We keep all their stuff, even though they're never probably coming back for their beanie babies or whatever like things that they have. I had a son that had every notebook he ever wrote in for school. And I'm like, are we ever looking at these? But they were all taking up residence. I had loved ones from family members that passed on furniture. None of this I loved. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't like it. I didn't want it. But yet we have it. And that contains energy. So as I started going through all of this, I really became aware of, how this affected me. What does energy hold in our homes? One realization was just looking at a dress that I wore to a Christmas party that I had the best evening of my life in. And I kept the 20 years later, I still have this little dress that I will never wear again, never fit into again. But I had this like holding on to it for a memory. One day I was like, the memory's in my head. I don't need the dress at all. Someone else can use this dress. They can wear it and have a great time too. And off it went. So I started to really understand energy. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I think we often underestimate how much our home is affecting us. And I mean I think like, well, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
when you're helping someone purchase a home, and this is a little bit off the subject of what you were just talking about, but what is kind of your process to help match them? Um, that's something I'm a little curious about because I look at that and it's for most of us the biggest investment we're ever going to make. And so
Absolutely.
I'm kind of curious what you do to really work with someone. And the other thing is, do you ever find that there's just not a match and there's not anything you can do, or is there always something you can do with that?
Good questions. Okay. I just had one that we worked. So I've only become an intuitive realtor in the last year. So I've always been a realtor, but I switched over to intuitive real estate. And I have a very long questionnaire. So if you were a buyer, well, it's much easier to do it from the buy side because the sell side is more about clearing it and feeling into the energy of who's coming in. But for a buyer, which is like you said, and I totally agree, this is a huge investment, probably your biggest investment for most people. And we spend a lot of time. Now, I used to always do a questionnaire, but I didn't put as much thought into it. It was like, okay, how many beds, how many baths, and
Yeah, yeah,
now it's how many bedrooms and how are you going to use the bedrooms? What are your must-haves, your non-negotiables? Not, and I use the word non-negotiables. You need this in your house to
right.
make you happy and use and enjoy how you live. And then we write it all up and I'm going to send it back to them. The yard, do you need a garage? Do you need, what kind of street? What kind of noise level? We never used to talk about that. So I can eliminate half the houses if we know that you need to be in like a really quiet area.
Right.
Can you deal with cars going by? Can you be near an airport with planes over you? What makes you happy to live in this house? Do you need land to garden? Does the soil need to be fertile? We go really, really deep, which some people don't have time and don't want to. But I just had a client where we went really, really deep. And this is a great example. Now, again, it's free will. So at the end of the day, it's your money, your house. So I can't force anyone to do anything. But she had a few non-negotiables. She had to have granite. She had to have a screen porch. Now, could we put granite in? Yes. So we could always work around that. But she had to have a kitchen where she had a kitchen island. She would prefer granite. She had to have a screen porch. She did not want a big yard. She was a single woman. This was her last final home. So that she planned on ever buying. She was an empty nester. She had grandchildren. Um, she had an adult child that was going to be living with her temporarily, so she wanted a finished room over her garage. Um, I think those were her must non-negotiables. And off we went. And we also had a very short timeline to find a house. We had 4 weeks. We were
Oh,
looking at
wow.
houses. And on one of the ventures out, all of her children came. And she had thought she loved one house, and we were close to putting an offer in. And then we went to look at another house, and all of her children came by, and her children took over the show. All of a sudden, there was not a finished room over the garage, but they had rationalized that this adult child could live on the first floor, right in the next bedroom next to her. That this had a great, huge lawn, so all the grandchildren could play. And a few hours later, she called and she said, I'd like to put an offer in.
Oh,
Here we go. And I said, I don't think that house made you happy, or it didn't check off anything. Had a tiny kitchen. You said you liked to cook. Had a huge yard. You said you didn't want to do the maintenance. So they had and she's like, but the kids like it. And I said, okay, but I don't think it's the energetic match for you. But it's your home, your money. Now, I already knew that the energy didn't match. I can feel into the energy of the house and the energy of her and the land, and I could just feel it collapsing. So
oh,
we put it in an offer. It never got accepted. It never even came to fruition. So I was like, but then I used that because again, I can't steer. And I said, can we now going forward make sure these check off your wishes? Because she saw what happened and we were able to have a discussion around it. And that's really intuitive real estate is like, I'm not going to boss you around, but can we have a discussion of how that went astray and how you almost spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a property that matched your children and not you? And that's just another narrative we can say about women and pleasing and wanting to make everybody
yeah.
happy. Not honoring your own energy, and that's what it's coming back to, your own energy. So, long story short, one of the last houses we went to look at, her smile lit up. I didn't have to. Her smile. I said, "This is your house," and she said, "It is, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "How do you know?" I go, "Look at you. You're beaming. It has every non-negotiable on here. You have your kitchen island with your granite, with your screen porch, a tiny yard. You can still put a swing set, but a tiny yard. It has the frog for your son. He can have a separate, he can come in a separate way. You won't have to spend time in each other's space. Your energy will be supported. And and this at the end, I cleared the energy for her and the EMFs and everything. But it's more like her energy just rose up. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to read your energy with the house as much as I like it here. I'm happy here. I'm not making it work. I'm not trying to make it work. I'm gonna slug through it. It was like she didn't want to change a thing. There she was just beaming. She beamed through the closing, she beamed through everything. And that's what that is. It's matching the match and bringing the client back over and over again. Because we can clear land, we can clear houses, but we can't make somebody's the floor plan work if you need to have this to feel good. What makes you feel good? Like I want to have a screen porch. That makes me happy. Every time I step out on that screen porch, my energy just rises up. So it's really about being in tune with what makes you happy in your home. And then really, when you go out looking for it, a lot of young people will get my son. It was a quick story about my son. He and his girlfriend were shopping for an apartment and they had their list of non-negotiables. And they walked in and saw this really pretty kitchen and like all of a sudden they didn't need a living room. They didn't need storage. They didn't need parking. And I'm like, wait. And they're like, but the kitchen's so pretty. And I'm like, uh-huh, but yes, but where is everything going? You said you needed your snowboards and all your apparatuses. Where are you putting those in your closet? Like, and they're like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, and I thought it snows in Maine. Don't you need off-street parking? Like, so we can get really taken out, and I call it depleting our energy. You're either depleting or you're growing it, you're developing it, you're actually like making it blossom. And so when you just deplete it, you're just giving it out. Like, I don't care. And you're containing. What's that word? Containing or depleting? And I work with people to contain their energy, because when you contain your energy, you rise it up. So that's how I work with people with houses. It's really about, I mean, when we're selling, I can usually feel it. I usually can feel the buyer's energy and know it's just, I used to play with it. Like, they're going to buy the house, they're going to buy the house. That's an easier one. But buyers, it's really keeping them on what makes you happy and keeping them on track with that, and not letting other influences like the shiny kitchen or the family members or their best friend who's living here, and how do you need to, what do you need to make your energy rise, and what do you need to feel joy and happiness.
So that initial consultation is very important because
It's
that's where
extreme.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that process. So speaking of working with your sellers, you kind of mentioned a little bit about what you do there, but tell us a little bit more about how you help a seller in not just in the normal real estate
Yeah.
way, but in the intuitive way.
Again, they get a checklist, and it really goes more deep. I mean, yes, we need to know all the things, all your upgrades and all the normal stuff, but what drew you to this house? What did you fall in love with about this house? How does this house make you feel? How do you feel when you go outside in the yard? How do you feel when what is your favorite room and why? And I use all of this. I also ask permission to clear your house so that your energy is no longer present, and that the energy is just transmuted into neutral, really divine, beautiful energy. So the buyers don't pick up on anything going on in that home, because we don't know what we're picking up on. We just sense things.
Yes,
I
yes.
know how it feels, but we don't know why. So then when I do the write up, I spend a lot of time using their feelings invoking that. I also use color. So, if I go into someone's house, and I'd rather them spend a lot of money investing in color paint than if the house is just not, like, if every room I go into, like I always say, is this color, it's jarring. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and people don't know that. Like, I mean, I work with some other realtors. Like, I don't know why this isn't selling. Like, look at the rooms. They're hot orange. They're red. They're black. I try to get much more of a neutral, uplifting color. I bring in some color that is yellow is always a great color. I bring in the flowers. I mean, realtors always bring, like, not always, but a lot of flowers. Like, flowers uplift energy. I create sprays, a high vibe home spray. I spray that and raise the vibration. I clear the energy. I make it as uplifting as when people come in that they're happy to stay. Because some people walk in and out of houses and it has to be clean because actually energy is sticky. So I always tell my clients, I will clean your house. I'll get it professionally cleaned. You just get it clutter free and make the colors neutral and bring in some uplifting color. And then I will actually have it clean because dirt is like sticky. Energy sticks to dirt and clutter, and people feel stuck. And so it's really about people walking in, feeling at ease, feeling like happy or like that their energy feels good there. And then writing up the house as if what the person loved about it and bringing that emphasis through because they lived there for a reason. I mean, if someone told me they hated the house, I would say don't write it. But I mean, like my last client, actually my client right now, she is in love with trees and she bought the house for all these beautiful mature trees on the property and each tree she named and all that. So I really wrote a lot about the mature trees and how trees, you could have the barbecue or read a book under, and we really like worked that up because it was important to her. And it also is a really beautiful thing about the house. So that's how I work with sellers as well. It's just more of a deep dive and it's working and explaining how energy can make you feel, colors make you feel, people don't understand that a lot. I mean, we just like what we like and we throw it on the wall. Also placement of furniture. Too much furniture, the energy literally can feel like I'm stuck. I don't know I don't know which way to go. Furniture can throw off the whole vibe of how you go through the house. So I'll place the furniture so I feel into it and I can I'll look at a table with chairs and if it's not set the way that the energy flows around the table, I switch the arrangement so that the energy will flow around the table.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
really like that. And I
Yeah.
think that you're right on when it comes to like neutralizing the energy as well, because people don't want to go into a house and feel other people's energy. They they
Absolutely.
they want to feel their own.
They want to feel their own. They don't want to feel like they feel like the other person's residual energy, and we will. So that's a really, and it's also about, like I said to people, like fix your house, like get your house ready. And, we say that as a regular realtor, but as an intuitive realtor, if the handle on the door to the front door is broken, people don't feel solid. Like it's really a literal thing. It's like, I can't get a handle on it. I can't. And I say that, like, it not only put your best foot forward from a practical standpoint, but from an intuitive standpoint, people feel like they can't get a handle on something, like, or that it's not secure. And so the energy doesn't feel solid, and you want it to feel solid. So, yeah, there's a lot of little things that you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So when I know you are like the jack of all trades. I know you do a lot of different things and I completely relate with that. So let me ask you, do you ever have people call you and well, you actually you mentioned this about COVID, calling you and they're in their home and they simply just want to feel better in their home. They're not trying to buy or sell. What do you do for that?
Couple things. So that's where feng shui comes into play. And there's a science that I studied called biogeometry, which is an Egyptian science. And that's all about removing EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, which we have way too many in our house and can affect us energetically. Um, Removing those and transmuting those into it's called the BG, the energy is BG3. That's what it's coined, but it's divine energy. It's connected to the divine. So I usually, well, same thing. I start with draw me your floor plan. And recently I had a woman and she sent me her floor plan and I could energetically tune into it. And I'm like, I feel like she's not settled. That's all I could feel like. I'm like, and so I actually Googled her address and I was like, she's lived there 4 years, so she should be settled. But I don't feel, I keep tuning in and I'm getting very edgy, anxious, not grounded, not settled. So when I went there, I wasn't really surprised, but I was a little bit she still had moving boxes all over the house. No art hung up, no nothing. She was sleeping on her living room couch.
Oh.
She had a beautiful townhouse. And she said, I just can't feel settled. And so we kept talking. And eventually I was like, she was saying she had lived all these places. She had lived in Italy, she had lived in Spain, she had lived in California. And I said, do you have items in those places? And she said, yes, I have storage units in all three. And I'm like, okay, you need to get rid of them. because your energy isn't settled. You're scattered. I go, do you have things you love in those places? She said, yes. I said, so call back what you love, bring that, ship that back, and everything else, just sell it. I said, because that is keeping you scattered. And she did. And she feels so much better. She's hung up her art. She also like hated her bed. I'm like, for her, financial things weren't a problem. I'm like, buy a new mattress. Like, you need to start like living in your space. But she couldn't do that till she started calling back in her energy. Another woman came to me and said that she was having a hard time focusing at work. And so I tuned into her floor plan. I could energetically know where her office was, which wound up being her dining room. But I was like, I knew where she spent the most time. Like when I looked at her floor plan, my energy was focused. And I walked in, I said, is this where you do all your work? The dining room table? And she said, yes. And I said, this is fine, but you're sitting the wrong way. You're looking out this window. And she's like, but I've always sat there for 10 years. And I love how it feels. I love the birds. I love how the cats sit in the window. And I said, but energetically, it's draining your energy. It doesn't support you. So you're actually, the way you're sitting, your energy is just getting bombarded and it's making you tired and unfocused. If you actually, you keep your desk here or your dining room table, move your chair, look the other way, you still have a picture window. And so she did it for one day. And she's like, I hate it. And I said, hey, then go back. It's your home. This is just my advice. And so she would write to me 3 months later. And she said, 2 weeks ago, I decided I was going to try it again. And I tried it for a week and I haven't gone back. I feel so much better. I can't even believe that I'm focused. My energy is up just by shifting. She goes, I think I just was familiar and like that view and just didn't want to change it because that's how we're creatures of habit. And anytime we change something like that, we're rewiring our brain at the same time. It's like driving a different way to work, they say, is good for you, or trying a new food or doing something. So that's literally how I help people. We also changed colors in that house. We also did a mural. She was all into art to tie in. Her house was a little disjointed, so we tried to tie in, and it was open, all the rooms so that it felt like a flow. Removed a lot of a lot of it's clutter. A lot of it is just furniture placement where you can really feel better by changing color. If you're sitting in your library and it's red, you're not going to relax. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't understand that. So just in plants and nurturing things and pets, like do you have pets? Do you have, plants? Are you nurturing other things besides yourself? Are you making space in your life, in your home for others if you want others in your life? That's a big one too.
Totally agree. I've actually seen that work myself. And so to have an actual like expert that knows all of that, very, very cool and very helpful. I can imagine you help a lot of people. So,
Yeah, I love it.
um,
I really feel that our homes are, we spend more time in our homes than we ever have before. I do not think that will change. I think the way of the future is people working a lot from home.
yeah,
Um, and that when we spend time in here, we should love it. We should literally walk around our house and be like, every room makes me happy.
yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, I so appreciate you coming on here and sharing what you do. I'm going to leave all your information in the description of this video as well as the comment section. And we're running short on time right now, but if you want to kind of verbally tell everybody where you can be found, I know you have a couple websites and anything else. I know you're on some social media as well, so.
So for real estate, it's Maura Allard, intuitiverealtor.com. And not only do I do in North Carolina, I do intuitive real estate, obviously in the Eastern North Carolina portion of the state, but I can tune into energy in any house, anywhere. So if people are down to one or two houses and they're like, hey, I need to figure out which one, I can usually tell which one energetically supports you better than the other one. And for Wind, Water, and Wisdom, it's windwaterandwisdom.com. And for Wind, Water, and Wisdom, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn and YouTube. And I do a lot of free content. I do at least 5 posts or 5 videos a week. So there's a lot of free content on feng shui, biogeometry. I do an oracle card pull every week. I do a channeled message every week. So there's a lot there that you can get for free.
Very cool. Very cool. And so, let me just backtrack a little bit. I meant to ask you this before. As far as what you do remote, I just want to be real clear. You do, um, I know you obviously can't sell Mm,
Can't sell real estate. That's the only thing. I can do feng shui remote. We can
mhm.
do it through Zoom. We can do, I do rooms sometimes or just an
Okay.
office. So I can just do a room. I can do a whole house. I can travel if that's what somebody wants as well. So I do feng shui remote though. I do energy clearings, all energy clearings remote. I can transmute EMFs in a house remotely, which is very cool as well. Um, I do biogeometry, which is a healing modality. You can clear your chakra. I can clear chakras. There's a lot I can do. Most of it's on my website. Sign up for my newsletter. It comes out once a month and with some ideas. And then if I'm offering a course or anything as well. As my energy has been developing and opening, I share some specials every once in a while just to be my guinea pig. Like, hey, I'm trying this out because I think I can do it. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna offer it dirt cheap. It's not on my website, but if you follow me, like I had a bunch of people have me clear EMFs in their houses for like $20, which who knows what it would be worth, but I checked for a month to make sure it was holding and do videos for them. So every once in a while, as my gifts change and evolve, I just ask for people to just play with me and figure it out with me and, benefit from it.
I love that. I love the clearance section. So
So I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but if you want to try, let's go. I mean, I know it will work initially. It's whether it will hold. That's why I was like, I know that I can clear energy, but is it going to hold in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks? So that's like, how long can it hold without, like, in biogeometry, we put tools in the ground or we place tools. I seem to be able to do this now without tools, but I was like, is it going to stick? So I have these people that we've been checking in every week for the last month and it's been working, but I'm like, hey, it's a sale. It's easy, Yeah, sometimes I'll do sprays. I make custom sprays. It's another thing. Sorry. Custom sprays and oils that I tune into your guides, and I actually will get the spray to use in your home, like everything, and then a mantra or whatever, and I send it to you.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, it sounds like a whole bunch of high quality services, and I'm so happy you came on here. Thank you. Come
Thank
back
you.
anytime if you have new information to share or whatever. Be happy to have you.
Thanks, Addie. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you again.
Okay. Have a
Take
great
care.
day.
You too. Bye bye.